Hey everybody, Big Will here again, going live to talk a bit of NFTeams. Second attempt at this. Hopefully, we'll have a bit more joy with some of the technology. We've played around with some of the settings, and hopefully, we'll not lose the stream midway through this time. I'm just going to have a bit of a look through some of the recent sales that have gone through. There's a couple in particular that I want to focus on. I've had a few people reach out, and there's been a bit of a discussion in the Discord about the beta tournament over the last little while. And I've got a few pointers and a few thoughts on that I want to cover off. We absolutely have to talk about the Bored Apes. The Bored Apes are flying off the shelves at the moment, partly down to the Bored Ape Yacht Club resurgence over the last week or so as more people ape into that. I'm sure there's a link there. And then we'll touch on one or two of the traits that I think have been more discussed in the Discord. What I'd say, thanks guys, thanks Jordan, thanks Andrew, thanks James in the chat. Anybody who's got any questions, anything you want to have a look at whilst we're chatting through, just drop it in the chat and I'll try and give it a look. And we'll get right into it. Here we go. We usually start off, or at least episode 1, we started off having a look at the floor, which is always, for this type of thing, probably a decent place to start. The floor has bounced around over the last little while. We've actually only got 10 or 12 teams left now before we hit floor, and as much as that's not really something we discuss too much in the Discord, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 now. There's been a couple of more listed. It's a pretty good sign of the health of the project. One of the things I wanted to start off looking at, and we'll go via the big brain werewolf, so 0.077. I just wanted to spend a little bit of time pointing out to some people and talking about the beta tournament. So again, apologies to those of you that are OGs in the Discord and are kindly logging in. You probably know a lot of what I cover off, but I'm also aware, and I've had a few people reach out to let me know that they're not across some of the ins and outs of the project. So if I go too basic at times, apologies. And again, similarly on the other end, if I skip through a few things too quickly, apologies as well. So Big Brain Werewolves, I'm sure I'll eventually drive the price of these things up with the Newcastle United NFT shirt. I prayed for this and badgered Steve before the mint, before the reveal, before the project really gained legs, and I was surprised to see it in here. I call it the Newcastle United shirt. It's in the properties. It's the soccer jersey. There's over 500 of them, so they're not particularly rare, but I probably end up putting a premium on them just because I'm trying to collect them. The reason I've highlighted this particular one, hey Jace, hey Daniel, good to have you on board, mate, is mainly because of the price, secondly because of the seller, and thirdly because of the fact that the token ID is 494. So that's interesting for us because we have the beta tournament, which is something that was decided by Steve before the pre-sale. Anybody who got a team or two teams, which was limited, capped at 2 in the pre-sale, token IDs 101 all the way up to 1,100 were guaranteed a ticket to the pre-sale tournament, and that tournament is going to be the sort of test tournament before the main tournaments kick off. Now it's likely to be early next year, as we've discussed. It might sneak in at the end of this year, but I thought this particular team, I've really had to sit on my hands to not buy this team. I think it's terrific value. I think if you're getting a team that's a pre-sale team into the beta tournament in that 101 to 1,100 token ID, you're getting a free crack of winning the tournament. We don't know the prizes, we don't know the structure of yet, but any token IDs that low, you're getting that free run on it. And I think there'll probably be a bit of excitement leading into that tournament, so to have some skin in the game there. This is even more interesting, this team. I mean, it looks pretty cool. I actually like the werewolves a lot. I like the captain's armband on the soccer jersey or on some of the other sports jerseys that we've got, and I think that combo works really, really well. But the seller unknown quadruple zero, don't know who it is. Don't know if that person's don't know if that person's listening. I doubt it, but I'm just going to go through some of their teams. We might do this from time to time. There's some really impressive rosters of teams out there, and people have got some amassing some amazing groups of teams. But what I've noticed about this particular seller, and I don't know how it's come about, the vast majority of their teams are tokens between 101 and 1100. So there's a few different ways you can go about looking for these teams, and I know there's a few people that put a bit of a premium on them because they want that skin in the game for the first tournament. But we've got I think it's nearly 20 teams here. 21 teams. So going back up to the Random Simians, which is token ID 1089, I believe. 1089. That's right at the back end of the beta tournament, so just scraping in right at the back end of the beta tournament. And if you sort by oldest in OpenSea, either when you're in someone's wallet or you're in the full project OpenSea page, that will order them by token ID. And the Naughty Leopards are the earliest token ID that this particular person owns, 149, so that's right down the other end. Sammy, I've noticed you picking up. We'll just have a quick look at that shortly when we have a look at his recent sales. Again, what we're not here to do is question anybody's rationale between buying and selling. We could go into details of who's bought what at what prices. Everyone's got their different reasons for selling and flipping. That's not what we're here to focus on. I'm here to have a look at trying to raise awareness of different opportunities and the interesting points about the project. And I know that some people spend a lot of time trying to find these teams. So when I stumbled across this, and I know some of you in the Discord have, and probably kept it to ourselves a little bit for a few days, I think whether a lot of you like me for doing this or not, part of what we're going to do in this series of live streams, particularly leading into that first tournament, is we are going to try and share some of that alpha with some of the people that might not have as much time as what we do to have a look through these things, or just aren't aware of it. So what you've got here is you've got a list of about 21 teams there that are all in that rank of token IDs, and they're varying in prices. So we've got 0.57 here, 0.314 for a pretty good looking croc. We have our big brain werewolves, which is what I've just touched on, 0.07. There was a 0.064 penguin which just popped off about an hour ago before we jumped on the stream, which we'll have a look at in a minute. So I just wanted to point this out for people who are interested in, for me, I'm looking for pandas, I'm looking for koalas and Zeus. If you can find something, if you're looking for a unicorn, for example, and there's something on here that takes your fancy, if you can get it at a good price and it's got that added extra bonus of that beta tournament, then happy days, I guess. Yeah, so just having a quick look. We'll go back to the main OpenSeas page, and we'll just have a quick look over the recent sales. We'll touch on one or two of those early tokens. There's a few people starting to amass 3, 4, 5, 6 teams in that early tournament that I've seen. So if we take off the buy it now, and we go to the recently sold, that should bring up in order. This is basically replicating the sales bot in the Discord for those of you that like to use it. So the Touching Bullocks, great name, looks pretty clean, really nice. I might just have a quick look in, given that Sam's online. I might just have a quick look in here. Again, something I've had my eye on for a little while. I know not everyone's into the levels, but I usually like to bring them up. And this was an interesting one because that particular seller listed a lot all at the same time, and they dropped into the list around about 4 or 5 days ago. This particular one was at 0.14, and it looks like Sam's picked that up with a wrapped ETH offer. So just goes to show, as the gas has come down, what's gas now at the moment? Gas is at 95. Historic gas over the last few minutes, it's fluctuated between 120, 130, 140, all the way down to 95 to 100. You can actually get some wrapped offers through now. We've struggled to get the wrapped ETH offers through and the bids through over the last little while, but those are starting to trickle through now as gas goes down. And again, repeating myself from last week, for those of you that aren't aware, if you get wrapped ETH, which you can do through the MetaMask wallet, you can put bids in on Teams, which is lower than the amount, or you can actually bid more than the amount if you want to do that, or the actual amount that the team is for sale. You can actually avoid having to pay gas if that transaction goes through. So again, just focusing on Sam's transaction here, 0.11. The asking price was 0.14. This seller's decided to give Sam an absolute bargain, sold him at 0.11, and the seller's actually paid the gas fee, which, depending on exact timing, would probably have been about 0.02. So Sam's not only got a cheap deal there for a pretty mean looking team, it's actually avoided paying the gas. So wrapped ETH, I'm a massive fan, and I'm going to keep on popping those offers in. Apologies to anyone who gets a pretty low ball wrapped ETH. I try and be respectful with my offers, but respectful is probably in the eye of the beholder. So functional tuxedos. Now, this was one I know a lot of people looked at, and I couldn't believe, while it was sat there today, again, sat in my hands for quite a number of hours today whilst this was up there. The seller listed a lot of their, the same seller that we've just looked at listed a lot of their items the 4 or 5 days ago at a higher price. So this is a good example, 0.125, no takers. And then 6 hours ago, so around about 2 or 3 o'clock Australia time today, pretty much dropped it to half the price, which is absolute flaw. A wallet that did own a few teams already picked it up. 0.064 is probably one of the better steals that I've seen, because this has got pretty good levels. It's no slouch when it comes to the levels. That's probably there at around about 220, 230 overall, which is good. I know I said before anything over 220 is probably floating my boat. But again, because it's from that seller and he's got a mammoth of these low token IDs, token 866, you're in the beta tournament, you've paid 0.064, well below mint, absolutely cracking sale, and probably up there with my sale of the week. Shout out to Justice at Justice Arbitrage, our NFT wheel. I think a great segment which will come into future, probably on the Saturday nights when we've got a bit more time. We'll do a team of the week, or a team sale of the week, bargain of the week, and this would probably be up there. I'm not going to talk about the mining pandas. It's still too early for me to talk about this. I missed out on this. You couldn't get more Newcastle United if you tried. I'd bid on this. I'd then getting something else accepted, and I forgot to put my money back in my wrapped ETH, so I've missed out on this. And again, it was from the same seller, so it's an early token ID, and Justice has picked that up. So we've had a bit of side banter on that. Moving on from that initial tournament. James, good question. We're actually just about to cover that off, so I'll probably link in with that in just a second. So James has just asked on the chat, what price do you think the Bored Apes will go for eventually? I'll probably expand that question out, because it's actually something I want to look at now. If you take a look at the last handful of sales, so you've got 6 per row there, 6, 12, 18, 24, going up to the pummeled Bored Apes, which is the last 21 sales. You've got the pummeled Bored Apes, the party Bored Apes, you've got the forgetful Bored Apes, and then just earlier on tonight, the Sydney Bored Apes. All 4 Bored Apes out of the last 20 sales is phenomenal, that they're moving that quickly. A range of prices, 1.6, 1.25. We had the pummeled Bored Apes moved at 2.2. And then the party Bored Apes at a wrapped ETH bid of 1.5. There was a sale earlier on in the week for Bored Apes of 1 ETH, which I just couldn't believe. It was a crazy price, and we touched on that pickup earlier on last week. But it's boding well. There's been a lot of transactions, a lot of banter around the board apes, and I think it's probably off the back of potentially seeing a bit of movement in the actual board ape yacht club apes, but those have definitely been the heaviest traded and heaviest discussed over the last few days since we last caught up. And to see four of them move all at that 1+ ETH, I think just shows the strength of the project. People are willing to pay that sort of price, the interest in the board ape. So shout out to Steve, who ponied up initially for that for the board ape, so that we could have the derivative teams in the NFTeams as NFTeams, and it's just creating another layer of interest. So in terms of what we're expecting to see, well, if you'd asked me this a week ago, I never would have thought we would have seen a board ape go for one ETH, to be honest. So you would have caught me out there had you have asked me last week, James. The selecting low to high and just filtering it on the board apes. If you click on buy it now, you get out of the ones that have got bids on them. The floor is now 1.3 ETH. That feels to me good value. We've had a 2+ ETH sale. We had a couple of those over the time since reveal. I don't think that 1.3 ETH sale, I don't think that board ape sticks around for too long. Now, on Saturday, we had a few of these pop off live, and there was a few, 5 or 6 of the teams that we previewed in the live stream popped off within a few hours. So I don't know if this will be the case here, but if there's a Hawthorn fan out there with some ETH burning a hole in their pocket, this is a pretty good looking ape for you. The floor's pretty thin after that. I don't see. I'm pretty bullish on the apes. Obviously, I've got an ape. Most of you know I share an ape with 2 of my friends. James is one of them. We've got a 3-way share in a team, which is a board ape. So we've got extra skin in the game there. But I really don't think that 1.35 ETH sale sticks around for too much longer. The 1.75 is starting to get where I think is a realistic price for them. I've said for a while that late 1 ETHs into 2 and early 2s is probably where I think we'll see most of the transactions when the tournaments start, and obviously depending on how some of the board ape teams do during the tournament and how close we get to unlocking that board ape tournament, they really could go up to anything. So it's a hard question. It's a hard question to ask, because the sky's the limit on those. If we get down to the 98 board apes going at it for the actual board ape and the community pool, which is worth, well, the floor on the board apes is 43, 44 ETH now, I think. So, these things for a ticket in that game, I think a lot of people will pay a lot more. But I think around about that late to 1 ETH up to 2 ETH probably where we're going to be trading between now and the first tournament. So Warren, yeah, that was your ape. Which one? I don't know which one. Was it one of the ones that you've already bought, or is it one of the ones that's up there for sale? I'd be interested. I'd be interested just to pick your brains on that one. If you've picked up one, well done. Welcome to the club. As we all know, our resident pod guru, messiah. He's been called a lot of things, but Ku it has 3 board apes, and we think that's the most. I had a quick look through earlier, and I couldn't see anyone with more than 2 other than Ku. So he's got massive skin in the game. But I think anybody. All right, so that's yours for sale, is it? Oh, look, I think anything below 1.5 ETH for a board ape. I'm personally looking for a Zeus, and I think some of the prices for the board apes have gone off pretty well. So 1.35 is it's a pretty good price. What is better, gold or Hydra, Jace, in the long term? That's a good question. Now, I was wanting to preview the gold, so we might just jump in and have a quick look at the gold teams. Now, I always like to just go and check. I've tried to memorize as much of this as I can, but I don't. Some of the stuff I'm better at than others. 139 on the website, 139 gold teams. We've seen a massive spread in the gold teams. It's been pretty interesting to see. And I think it comes down to what combination of gold you've got. And what I mean by that is, if you've got an alien, an ape, not a bored ape, something on the lower end of the rarity scale in terms of character, that's gold. You're still going to get a good price. Anything gold is great. We always knew that. Steve's got his gold ape, and I think we all know gold is great when it comes to NFTs. But there are definitely some gold characters which are commanding higher amounts. So what we've brought up here is all of the gold characters listed from low to high. So this is essentially the floor that are available now. The Moscow Z heads now. We might have a quick look at this one and having a bit of a preview of this one. Diatic, who's a regular in the Discord, has had this one for sale for a little while. If we have a quick look at the listings for this one, it's bounced around quite a bit. So it started off 0.77, 0.88 down to 0.66, 0.599. It's jumped around quite a bit, and it's landed at the moment at 0.696. One of the reasons for that, and those of you that have got the eagle eyes out on the gold, was there was a competing gold. Here we are, the Montreal Teen Wolves, which went overnight last night. There was a bit of a battle royale between those two gold characters where the floor was essentially being competed against, and that gives a more competitive price for the buyers. So I think at 0.6 for a gold character, it's very, very good value, and there's obviously a lot of love for it on the Discord, but that sort of drove the price down, that trade between the Moscow Z heads and the Montreal Teen Wolves. But pointing out that if you like the gold, and I know the zombies aren't the most sought after character, anyone who's a Hawthorn fan, whilst the Hawthorn jersey's pretty prevalent, to get a gold at 1.7, and reading between the lines, and I can't speak on behalf of the seller, there is absolutely, I'd be throwing in some of those wrapped ETH bids if I was in the market for a gold. You've probably got some wiggle room there, but again, I couldn't tell you if that would go through. But 0.7, the floor on a gold. Just going back to your question, Jace, I've got to side with the Hydras. I can be diplomatic here in a way. I'm invested on both. I've got a gold and a Hydra. The Hydra's at 44. 44 total in the collection. I think they're just gonna be that premium piece, which a lot of people have sort of said there's not a bad looking Hydra, and they're probably right. I don't think there's a bad looking gold either, but some are better looking than others. So I'm of the belief. We'll put it this way: I think it will depend on the gold that you've got. There's some really, really nice looking golds, but I think overall, on average, you'd have to side with the Hydras. Don't get me wrong, zombies, I think I've got 4 zombies in the collection. I like my zombies. I've got a few with laser eyes, and I think they look pretty cool. They've been getting a pretty bad rap. I know that Stanny Surfer, Koo, and the Steel City Boys have been given the zombies a bit of a bad rap. But there's definitely I think there's some pretty good zombie teams out there. Just looking through at some of the golds, and the reason why I wanted to have a quick look at it tonight, and just to highlight to some of you that might not have seen it, at 0.7, that's pretty good value for a gold. But the reason it's good value is the minute that sells, the floor for the golds is up to 1.3, and then it's pretty thin. You've got, what have you got there? You've got five more golds before you get to a 2 ETH floor. So it won't take very long for a few people to come and snap some of those golds up. You can understand why the Super Simians might be a bit more than the Moscow Z heads. I think aesthetically, a lot of people would agree as to why that is. But the floor on the golds is actually pretty high, and I think this is something that I've noticed over the last few days, which is it's probably a bit of a bargain, to be honest. Okay, there's a couple of things I just want to wrap up with and finish off with. I just want to have a quick look on the recently listed. We usually we usually would do this, and this is going to be a regular part of these streams. I'm on this recently listed page, so filter by recently listed, buy it now. This is what's popping up straight away. Something that caught my eye before we jumped on was the Floor Emperors. I like the NFL jersey. I think it looks pretty smart. It looks pretty cool. But when you look at this particular character, again, similar seller. Not one of the token IDs that we were looking at earlier, but I felt the interesting thing about this was it was sought after such that let's have a look. It was initially ponied up 0.34 ETH for it, and I think at the time not many people would have disagreed. We're now down to 0.13 ETH. This is a right-click save hat. It's just the trippy hat is more slightly rare, but I know a lot of people like the rainbow teeth, and I think the combo of the rainbow teeth with the right-click and save hat looks pretty cool. We did this a few times on Saturday, and I know a few people have asked me about the if you click into the properties. If you click on a particular item or a trait that you're interested in, it essentially brings up the floor and the listing of sales for those. We can see that just for the right-click save hats on their own, this particular one is the floor. It goes up 0.15, 0.18, and then jumps up to 0.25 pretty quickly. So I think of the teams that have recently been put on sale, I felt as if that one stood out for somebody who was in the market for any rainbow teeth or a right-click save hat. We focused on the gold. I think there was one more team, and I wonder if it's gone. Wait, there am I on? Yeah, recently listed. Here we go. This is the one. Horace Grant. So we touched on this on Saturday, and there's been a little bit of banter about these. Again, I think they're so under the radar. I don't have one. Joy's selling this. Joy's a regular in the trade. The 0.17 price, I think, is reasonable for those. The Horace Grants are, I'm going to say there's about 130. Where am I looking here? Eyes. I'm going to go 130, 138. Let's go reset. Eyes, Horace Grants. 152, miles off. So there's 152 teams with the Horace Grants on. 0.17 seems to me okay, but I thought when I looked at them, I wonder what the floor is for these now. And the floor piece for these is a bit of a weird one, and this is why I wanted to bring it up. The established monkeys. Now, let's bring it up so you can get a bit of a close up of this. I've got to be honest. Alongside the Dame Edna glasses, the wrestling mask is probably one of my least favorite traits. Again, just personal preference. I like the character faces so much that anything that covers them up too much doesn't get a lot of love from me. But you can see here that the Horace Grants are actually hidden under the wrestling mask. So for those people, and I know there's a few of you out there that are picking up those Horace Grants, because they do sell. They don't stick around for too long. A 0.1 with the Horace Grant glasses on there. I thought that was a bargain, and I wasn't sure when that was put up for sale, but I thought that was pretty good. Look, tonight, what is it? Tuesday night. I didn't want to spend too long on here, and I didn't want to waste too much of your time. If anyone's got any last requests or last questions, we can have a look at. I tell you what I will do. I don't know if Justice is on the line. The amount of tug of wars we've had over some of these teams. I think Justice is obviously the resident. He's the resident wheel. He's got deeper pockets than I have, so I probably shouldn't be going up against him. But I'll just touch on the robots before we wrap up. We've seen a bit of activity on the robots of late, and it's been really good in the whole project. That we've had a real mix of people coming in, new wallets picking up the floor. You know, everyone saw Ryan Hoffman coming up. I think Pappenhausen's going to join and pick up a few pieces, probably off the floor to begin with. Those rugby league boys You know, they don't get paid too well, as we know, so they're picking up teams off the floor. Bless them. We've had a few people picking up floor teams, but we've also had a steady amount. We've looked at the apes. There was a Hydra went last week. Some golds have gone, but also a couple of robots have gone. So 0.6, this is the recently sold 0.6, 0.94. I think those represent pretty decent value. Those have been sold in the last couple of days. If you sort by low to high, just have a look what the floor is for a robot. I don't have one at the moment, so I hate looking at this because it distracts me from my quest to get a Zeus. But I think the non-conforming Longhorns 0.55. I mean, it's a pretty decent looking one. We've talked about the wrestling mask, and we've talked about the zombies, and the next one up there is the Magic Vixens, which doesn't have a lot of animation. I don't mind this one, 0.55. I think it's a pretty fair price. I mean, probably in the next half an hour, Justice will have snapped that up, and it'll be the floor will have risen again. I just think it's one of those ones that's worth looking at. Yeah, gas is floating around. It's 118 at the minute. Dan, I think the trick. I'm happy to explain it in more detail for those that you aren't aware. We've talked about it many times. You set your gas when you go to make a purchase. You can go into the edit section. You can set your gas lower than what the gas is at the time. So, for example, it's down to 98 at the moment. You could go in and say, well, historically the gas has gone down. It's gone down as low as 94. Maybe I'll chance my arm. I'll set my gas at 90. I'll let the transaction go and see if I can get a little bit of extra discount on the gas fee. But I think anything under 100 at the minute, we're starting to see a bit more transaction going through across the board, not just on NFTeams, but I think at this time of night, for the last few nights, it's been relatively low. So if there's something you've got your eye on, maybe go in there, set your gas at around about 85 or something like that, the way to 85, and see if you can mint yourself a team. There's plenty of bargains out there, and I think there's probably something for everyone. I mean, the floor price at the moment 0.066. I mean, what's not to like about this guy here, the activated chimps? The mustache, he's got a black eye, fully blue. I can't imagine that sticks around for much longer. 0.66. We're getting bargain basement prices from this seller. It's great. Look, I said I'd only go for half an hour. We're a couple of minutes over. I'll wrap it up there, guys. Thanks for logging in. Thanks for the questions. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. We'll probably come back on Saturday, and that'll be the standard spot for these. We'll probably post in the Discord what time we're going to come back. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'll see most of you in the Discord, and I'll see you all later. Thanks.